Hey, putting the real in real estate. This is February 21st. So I'm going to pull up the kind of data that we show in our MLS. Your MLS might be different. Maybe you've got InfoSparks, maybe you've got another program, but most of them have the access to this kind of data that they gather. And it's really fascinating to jump in there and dig around and learn a little more about your market. So my market is Chicagoland. Our team covers several different geographic places in Chicagoland. And so this view that I'm going to show you is our whole MLS. So that's one second. I can't do two things at once. So that area is Chicago, all of the Chicago suburbs. It goes maybe all the way across the state to the Mississippi River, goes to Wisconsin, and like halfway down the state. Illinois is a pretty long state. So this is all of that data. It covers small towns, rural properties, urban properties, condos, single family homes. Doesn't include multifamily, small or commercial or land, but we've got all property types, including attached, detached, all construction types, new construction and resale. Traditional sales I've got here now. When I do all, it really doesn't change a whole lot. For the most recent information, this particular view goes back 10 years. So I would expect it might change that a bit when we're looking at 2015, 2016. Yeah, so we've got almost 6 months of inventory when we include those, and drop down a bit when we, oh no, we didn't drop down. The picture changed. So more than 6 months in just traditional. That's interesting. So you can see this is our inventory month supply, and you can see how that is, even though it goes up and down every year. It's dropped quite a bit since here, and we've been in this 1 to 1.5, 2 months for some time, several years, since 2021. Mostly I am looking at 3 years. So I like to give people a little bit of perspective. People tend to think that, most of these numbers just go up or just go down, and showing them that it's constantly changing, I think, is really helpful for their understanding of the market, and especially pricing, and why their neighbor might have gotten a different number when they listed at a particularly hot time of year or just a hot time in the market. So that is the month supply. We also looked, as I was talking to the public on the other broadcast, looked at sales price. And again, people think my neighbor sold their house for this much, so I can sell mine for that much or more. Well, that might be true if you're selling in June, but it's not going to work in December, right? So when I think it's really important as realtors that we help people understand this, we help them understand how the market moves. It is not intuitive. It's not, they even people, I have had clients who are financial advisors who are, up to their elbows in the stock market, and yet don't recognize that the housing market is moving all the time. That if you don't have an agent who's got their finger on the pulse of the movement of the market, you can end up in pretty bad shape. There was a listing nearby recently that listed for completely unknown reasons, $100,000 below a very recent sale. And I was floored. And the only thing I can think is that agent looked at the market, maybe 5 or 6 months ago and stuck with that price instead of adjusting for what was happening now. So I think, you go on a listing appointment and they're not ready and you tell them that they need to do some things. And by the time they get it painted and decluttered and the carpet's shampooed, it's 4 or 5 months later. We need to help them understand that it's not going to be the price that we discussed at the previous meeting. It might be lower, it might be higher. And that's why I kind of stay away from getting very specific at those first meetings anyway. But if you do a CMA at that first meeting, if you give them a price at that first meeting, you have to be really on your game, making sure that they understand those fluctuations in seasonality. This is Chicagoland, so this has mostly to do with the weather. But your market is going to, and of course, this is, again, a big picture. If I were to narrow this, let's see if I just pulled up my city. It's much more all over the board. Lots of ups and downs, lots more ups and downs than you see in that overall market. So you have to know this, and you have to be able to help explain it to a client. So if you've got InfoSparks, if you've got a similar product that you get to use along with your MLS, I strongly encourage you to do so on a regular basis. So people are seeing this all the time. They're understanding that there's movement, even if they're not paying close attention to what that movement is or when it happens. They are looking at the market as something that is fluid and not my neighbor's house sold for this, and so I get to sell for this, because we all know that doesn't really work. So good luck and thank you, and go sell some houses.